All right, my people, this is Wednesday homework, and we are starting off modeling decimal division. So we're going to start with our dividend, modeling our dividend, which is 6/10. And so we remember that a row of tenths, one row of tenths, is made up of 10 hundredths blocks. So I'm doing this way. So we've got 2, 3, 4 left, so that's 6/10, and we are dividing it by 3/10. So we're going to break it up into groups of 3/10. So 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to circle this row of tenths, and then I'll circle that row of 3/10, and that's going to give me 2 rows. We learned that when we divide decimals, we move it, raise it to the roof. And then 6 divided by 3, that's going to be 2. 2 times 3 is 6, and 6 minus 6 is 0. So we have 2 whole groups of 3/10 within 6/10. For number 3, this is volume, finding volume. Remember, volume equals length times width times height. So we find the length in the front of the rectangle. So this is the length. We'll count that 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the length. Width is this little piece on the side, so we'll count these blocks, 1, 2. Height is going up and down, 1, 2. So if we were to plug it into our volume formula, we have 4. That's the length, times 2, times the height, which is 2, and then we just start multiplying. So volume equals 8. We didn't use this, times 2. Volume equals 16. So the volume of this rectangular prism is 16 cubic units. Number 4, we are rounding to the nearest, what they ask us to round to here. Okay. So rounding to the nearest tenth, this number. So I'm going to find the place. Move next door. If this is 5 or greater, add 1 more, but it's not. So the place stays the same. Everything behind it becomes a 0. Everything in front stays the same. So this will be 6 5/10 because these zeros behind it have no value. We learned that in topic 1. Rounding to the nearest hundredth. So I'm going to find the place. Move next door. If this is 5 or greater, add 1 more, which it is not. So the place stays the same. Everything behind it becomes a 0. Everything in front stays the same. So we're looking at 6 5/10 again. And then this time we're rounding to the nearest thousandth. 008. Find the place. Move next door. This is 5 or greater, so we add 1 more. So this becomes a 1. Everything behind it, a 0. Everything in front of it stays the same. So we have 6 501,000th because that 0 has no value. Number 5, we are multiplying by powers of 10. So we have 450 times 1, which is 450. Count the 0, write the 0, right? And then we have 450 times 10 to the second power, which is going to be 100. And so we can think of this as really 45 times 1, which is 45. Count the zeros, 1, 2, 3. Write the zeros, 1, 2, 3. And then 450 times 10 to the third power, which is going to be 45 times 1. Count the zeros, add the zeros, 2, 3, 4. And then on this side, we are multiplying kind of the same pattern, except we're using decimals. So we're going to think 450 times 1, which is 450. Circle, move it, 450 times 1. Circle the digits behind the decimal, move it, 450 times 1. Circle the digits behind the decimal, move it that number of times. The last problem on the page, which you guys were not responsible for, is number 2. This is a multiplying fractions by fractions. This process is really easy. When we multiply fractions, we multiply, and simplify if we can, which in this case we cannot. And for the model, because it is multiplication, we are simply crossing the models up over one another. So I have 1/4, and then I'm going to model. So I modeled 1/4 going up and down, and then I'll model 1/3 going side to side. And kind of like with any other multiplication model, where the colors cross over, that's your answer. And so you can see it. There's one block, one of the total 12 that is shaded by both of these. Therefore, that models the answer. Homework for tonight, you guys are to do number 3, 4, and 5.